What's up YouTube, PokePrimer here, Brian, and ready to deliver you our week 1 team builder here in the FDBL, our nice fantasy draft battle league here with all of our randomized pokes. This week we are taking on a good longtime buddy of ours in Ronnie and the Philadelphia, he's the Philadelphia team, probably Ludicolos, because it's Ronnie and I know he has this strange enjoyment of Ludicolos. Could also be Rowlets. Rowlets sounds very Ronnie-esque because he likes Rowlet. Again, I don't understand why, but whatever. But his team actually turned out being pretty decent from this draft. I actually got a really decent squad going for him. So his squad consists of Amoonguss, Excadrill, Alomomola, Starmie, Deblade, Kingdra, Klinklang, Typhlosion, Lopunny, Ludicolo, he actually got that lucky, Shiftry, and MegaVenus. His Z users that he got randomized were Excadrill and Shiftry as well. So, very interesting team. Very interesting team. Decent fire weakness, unfortunately for him, but at the same time he also got a decent enough amount of things that can switch into fire type moves. Things like Ludicolo can kind of do so. Typhlosion's an immunity. Kingdra's 4 times resists. Starmie resists. Alomomola resists. So like, it's either weak to fire or resists fire with his team for the most part. So that's going to be a huge pain in the butt to deal with, but I think we can definitely make use of that. Other than that, there's no really glaring weaknesses on his team. Excadrill as a user is going to be really scary to deal with. Shiftry, not so much, but Excadrill kind of caused me to prep a very specific way this week, and I'll explain it as I get more into it. But it definitely forced a lot of prep for me. A couple different things forced some prep as well. I'll get into those as we get there. But the first one we're going to be bringing this week is Shortcake, our Tapu Lele. I felt Shortcake had a pretty good matchup against his team for the most part. Spamming these Psychics against his team is going to really smack him up. He does have switch-ins to it, but they don't appreciate it. And I can force out a lot of his Mons very easily. I mainly wanted to have this here also for the Amoonguss, because Amoonguss is a huge problem. And if I can smack up Amoonguss as fast as I can with this thing, if I can somehow get a situation where, like, maybe he overpredicts or something, and I am able to smack that Amoonguss with a Psychic from this beast, absolutely would love that. Plus, not a lot switches into these Psychics very easily. Another cool thing about this Mon is I can easily get subs up on predicted switches. Like, this monster just gets free subs sometimes against certain Mons, which is really nice. Like, force something out, get a free substitute, bam, now I'm able to smack something up that comes in against me. You're forced to either attack me straight up, try to break my sub, or switch around and take a whole shit ton of damage you really cannot afford, which is really good to have. So, we have Sub, Psychic, Moonblast, and Shadow Ball. Psychic is just good for the team. Moonblast does hit things like Starmie a little bit harder. Also hits that Kingdra super effectively, which is super important. And the Shiftry as well. Gives us something to actually hit the Shiftry because it is immune to our Psychics. And then last but not least, we have the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is there just for the things that resist Psychic, just as like extra chip damage. It'll be super effective on the Starmie. It'll be super effective on that Doublade, which does not appreciate it by any means. It'll do a decent chunk of damage to the Klinklang, decent chunk of damage to the Excadrill as well. Definitely has a lot of potential to put in a lot of work this week. And the cool thing about it is I'm guaranteed to fire off the Shadow Ball too against the Doublade, because with my terrain up, he can't Shadow Sneak to break my sub. So I'm pretty much guaranteed to get a Shadow Ball off against it pretty much every time, if we end up in that situation, which is really nice. So that's cool. I like being able to Shadow Ball Doublades. But that is our Tapu Lele. Next up, we have Hungry, our Hippowdon, and we are actually running Sand Force. Leftovers with Sand Force, because I don't want to be putting up the sand and him having Excadrill and thinking, oh, I can just bring Sand Rush Excadrill and just fucking Sand Rush Bandit Excadrill and just pound my way through his team. I don't want him to think that he can do that. So, at least this way, I know that, like, he's capped out at the max speed an Excadrill can get. Maybe even running Adamant with a very good chance of that happening. So, he might only run Adamant because of the fact that he might think that he's getting a Sand Rush boost. So, I'm doing that as well. We have Earthquake, Toxic, Slack Off, and Stealth Rock. This set is not... This set's kind of walled by his grass types. But, like, those are obviously going to come in on it and get Toxic. Amoonguss is the only one that really straight up walls this set, even though Earthquake does do, like, significantly more, considering the fact that it is part Poison type. We have Stealth Rocks, because Stealth Rocks are really good against his team, and his only hazard... And he's got, like, a decent enough amount of hazard removers between, like, Defog, Shiftry, and Spin on both Drill and Starmie, but I feel like he's going to have to use Starmie in more of an offensive role against my team, and Excadrill in the same kind of fashion. I feel like he's going to be choice, so I don't think he's going to be running Rapid Spin, so... And bringing Shiftry's a 50-50, so... Our defensive investment is so that we can potentially take 2 Bandit EQs from an Excadrill, because that's definitely something that could very well happen, and I'm trying to make myself prepared for that as best as I can, because that's going to hurt a lot. Like, a lot. We also take 2 hits from a +2, like, Sword Sand Stuff to Blade, which is also really nice, so we can beat that thing down with Earthquakes. This Mon just switches into a lot of Mons on my opponent's team very easily, and it puts in a lot of work. It's super, super bulky. I love Hippowdon. I'm actually happy I really get to use it finally. This is going to be really cool. So, next up we have Juvia, our Tapu Fini, and we are actually going to take advantage of the fact that it got randomized to be a Z user, because we are bringing Tapunium Z week 1 here. Defog, Scald, Nature's Madness, and Ice Beam. Fully specially defensive. The reason we're fully specially defensive is because this allows us to actually take on the Starmie. This also allows us to take on the Kingdra very easily, because no variant of Kingdra can 2 KO us due to our just natural bulk and crazy investments, and like if it's a special Kingdra, it can't touch us. This allows us to absolutely switch into Typhlosion 10,000 times over. We can take hits from Ludicolo and Shiftry as well, unless Shiftry's physical. We swallow anything from Amoonguss. Alomomola can't touch us. Like, for the most part, his team really can't do much to us. Defogs keep hazards off our side of the field. He's got a couple different rockers. Well, he's got Excadrill for rocks, which he could potentially bring. I'd rather have the Defog than not have the Defog, to be fair. You know what I mean? Scald is just there for stab, so I can hit things like the Typhlosion for super effective damage, and potentially get burns on things that might want to switch in, like the Amoonguss, Alomomola, stuff like that I don't really appreciate burns, just for those extra little chip damage to cancel out leftovers and stuff like that. Tapunium is mainly for what I believe to be like an Amoonguss switch in at some point. Catch that thing with a Tapunium, knock that thing down by like 75% of its health, whatever 3/4 of its health is at that point, and put it potentially in range of an Ice Beam killing, because he might not expect me to have a move to kill the Amoonguss. He might think he can just freely, like, he'll be like, oh, he wastes his Tapunium on this regen Mon that I can just get some Giga Drain recovery back on very easily. Like, oh no, you stupid fool. But I'm just going to be able to Ice Beam him and knock him out. So, hopefully that'll work out in our favor. Well, I mean, realistically, though, like, getting the Nature's Madness off on something like Starmie wouldn't be bad either. What are other Mons that I can get it off on? Probably the Ludicolo would be really nice as well. Bunch of different Mons on the team that definitely don't appreciate getting knocked down by 75% of whatever their health is at the time. A lot of Mons don't appreciate that, so definitely on the list of things that will be nice to hit someone with at some point in the game. So, shoutouts to that. That's pretty cool. yeah, so that's our Juvia. Next up we got Wagon, the Wagon Having Dragon. The Goodra, Assault Vest, Sap Sipper for the ability, 248 HP, 56 defense with a bold nature, 204 into special attack. So the 56 defense with a bold nature. This actually, I believe, allows us to not be 2 KO by Starmie at all, even with Psyshock. Life Orb Timid Psyshock, I think, does right around 48.9 or something like that %. So it does right below half, so we'll be able to take those hits very easily. If it's anything less than Timid Life Orb, then we will be chewing hits from Starmie for days. The bulky AV Goodra really does put in a lot of work against this team. This is a great switch-in to the Amoonguss, because Amoonguss cannot spore against my team without giving this Mon HP, or giving this Mon an attack boost. I have this nice grass immunity when he has 3 grass Mons on his team that can put in some annoying work. So that's cool. Dragon Pulse is here to hit that Kingdra. If it's not a physical Kingdra, we can take a hit from it fairly easily. And we can also play around it, see if it specs, because we do have things that can easily switch in on it otherwise. So that's cool. This thing has Thunderbolt for things like the Starmie, and yeah, we have Thunderbolt for the Starmie. We have Fire Blast for things like the Kling Clang, the Amoonguss, Excadrill, Shiftry, etc., etc. And then we have the Sludge Wave to hit the Ludicolo, and yeah, that's it. But we have enough coverage. This thing has great coverage to hit majority of his team super effectively, which will be really, really nice to have. And this thing can also put a huge dent in his team throughout the match. So that is our Goodra. Next up we have Thickums, our MegaVenus, fully physically defensive to actually try to take a hit from a Banded Excadrill. It does take the hit fairly nicely. It's like a small chance to not get 2 KO'd. If he's anything less than Banded Excadrill, we are not 2 KO'd, which is great. This thing is also another great switch in to Amoonguss. We have 2 great switches to Amoonguss right here between Wagon and Thickums, where Amoonguss really can't do anything to us at all. Giga Drain, Knockoff, Sludge Bomb, and Synthesis. Knockoff is important because there's a couple different things you could potentially try to switch into this, and going for the knockoff on them would be nice. Deblade losing its Eviolite would be great. Typhlosion losing a Scarf or Specs or whatever would be amazing. And just about any mon in this team really doesn't appreciate getting knocked off. Getting rid of lefties is also good. Lefties or Black Sludge, which would be great. It's plenty of different options that would be really, really good in this matchup. Giga Drain Sludge Bomb hit his team really hard, smacking up water types and grass types very effectively, without anything really being left out. The only things we're not really touching at all is Kling Clang. Kling Clang does pretty much wall this set for the most part, outside of getting knocked off, but that's fine. We have ways of dealing with Kling Clang, like Hippowdon can 1v1 Kling Clang all day, so that's fine. We have the Synthesis as well to keep ourselves healthy, and thankfully, since we don't have the Sandstorm, we'll be able to get the guaranteed 50% from our Synthesis, so that's cool. Last but not least, we have Jura, our Regirock, Assault Vested as well. 248 HP, 252 defense, and 8 into Spadef. So with the max defense, we actually do take any physical hit from his team at all. We can aid an EQ from Excadrill. We can take +2 Iron Hit from Deblade. We can take a Shift Gear boosted Gear Grind from Kling Clang. Pretty much any of his physical offense is going to be null and void. And having the Assault Vest with the Careful Nature, this allows us to also chew special hits from things like Amoonguss, Alomomola, kind of chew one from Staryu. We can take one from Kingdra. We absolutely switch into Typhlosion like 5,000 times over. Like, his team really can't break this Regirock really easily, which is really nice. So we have Stone Edge, Earthquake, Drain Punch, and Counter. Stone Edge is just for stab, so we can hit things as hard as possible. With that, Earthquake is to hit the steel types, Blade, Kung-Clang, Excadrill, whatever. And then Drain Punch is there, more so for the Excadrill. Well, more so for just getting health recovery back, I guess. This is kind of just like a move slot filler at that point. At this point in the prep. And then last but not least, we do have the counter. Counter is going to be there. Counter is going to be important for beating that Excadrill down as hard as we can. Excadrill just get knocked out straight up, because if he goes for Iron Head, if he goes for Earthquake, doesn't matter. The Excadrill will die to the counter straight up, no questions asked, which is awesome. So that is going to be our team. If you guys have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, I'm PokePrimer, signing off. Peace.